The New York Islanders have been playing better hockey over the last few weeks. We're going to break down some of the reasons why, plus a big win Saturday at home over Detroit. We'll talk about the key takeaways from that game. All this and a lot more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We want to thank you for being part of the Locked On Islanders family and for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. So much to discuss on today's show after the Islanders beat the Detroit Red Wings on Saturday. We'll talk about that, but first, if you've got something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, feel free to send us an email. The email address, lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever it is that's on your mind. You can also follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on Twitter at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings. And I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So please join me for some instant insight and analysis. And it's always great to talk a little Islanders hockey with fellow Islanders fans, game time or anytime. So the Islanders have been playing better hockey in, let's say, the last 13, 14 games. And I think there are a number of factors involved as to why. And, it's not always a straight line. When you break down why a team is playing better, I think there are several reasons for it. Now, I want to start with the most obvious, and that is the addition of Bo Horvat to the lineup. The trade for Horvat helped the Islanders. It gave them more talent and a legitimate first-line talent to the roster. He's been with the team now for 13 games, 5 goals, 8 points, a +3. He has done an excellent job on faceoffs. One of his 5 goals has been a game winner. And, you could sit back and say, yeah, okay, 8 points in 13 games for your first line player. Not spectacular, but it really goes beyond that because, first of all, you have to take into consideration the injury to Mathew Barzal, which clearly hurt the ability of Horvat to produce as much offensively because the guy he was brought in to play with and to help and who would help him has not been available. And that is definitely, part of the downside of things. And yet, in spite of that, Horvat is killing penalties. He's playing on the power play. He's been excellent on faceoffs, responsible defensively, and he's added some juice to the offense. So I think the addition of Bo Horvat has been a big plus for the Islanders, at least this year. We can talk at some later point as to the long-term ramifications of this trade and the lack of first-round picks. And Lou Lamoriello addressed that, and we'll talk about that a little later as well. But overall, adding Bo Horvat definitely helped. And I'm going to say this as well. I think the injury to Mathew Barzal has been helpful to the team in a different way. Why? Well, obviously, you don't want to lose the guy who leads the team in assists and who, was up until the Horvat trade, certainly your number one weapon offensively. But what the injury to Barzal did, I think, is it made Lane Lambert realize that this team has to be better defensively. And that, having the defenseman pinch and having them gamble a little bit more offensively is okay to a point. But as you get closer to the playoffs and as you realize, hey, we don't have our, top line forward in Mathew Barzal available, all of a sudden you say, hey, we're not going to score 5 or 6 goals a game. We can't do that even if the defensemen pinch. And I think we've seen this team over the last 8 to 10 games or so be a little bit more Trotzian, for lack of a better way to put it, or Barry Trotzian in their approach. The defense has been emphasized a little bit more. There have been a few less chances taken by the defensemen and by the forwards. And I think defensively that also Bo Horvat and also guys like Hudson Fasching, they're upgrades over Anthony Beauvillier defensively. So you're adding players who are more responsible defensively to the lineup. You're taking a little bit less of an emphasis on attacking and a little bit more emphasis on positional defense. And I think those two factors have helped the team. And I think that another reason is that the Islanders have been getting very good goaltending. Semyon Varlamov has been injured at different times over the year. That meant that Ilya Sorokin had to play a lot of consecutive games in December and January while Varley was sidelined. Then you had a situation where Varley wasn't sharp yet, needed to play his way back into game shape. Right now, you're getting fairly consistent, solid, or even very good goaltending from both Sorokin and Varlamov. And yeah, there are exceptions. Certainly the loss in Boston wasn't a good game for anybody. But overall, you're getting, let's say, 4 out of every 5 games, you're getting goaltending that makes it good enough for your team to win. I'll add to that the recent hot streak and the stepping up by players like Brock Nelson and Anders Lee, guys who this team relies on for scoring, has relied on for scoring for several seasons, but they're getting hot. I mean, Brock Nelson, as of the last 14, 15 games, I mean, he has a point in every game except 2. In the last 15 games or so. He has been outstanding. He's been consistent and he's delivering. And then Anders Lee, now up to 24 goals. He sort of had a little rough patch in December and into January. But I think the addition of Bo Horvat, now Lee playing on a line very often with Bo Horvat, has helped. And the fact that Brock Nelson is no longer the center of attention for opposing checking lines and defensive pairings has freed him up a little bit as well. So I think these reasons are part of the explanation behind the Islanders' recent success. And I'll add one more while we're at it. I think breaking up the duo of Pelech and Pulock has solidified the defense overall a little bit more. We're seeing fewer of those defensive breakdowns that really hurt this team when they were struggling in December and into January, where, there are less instances. I'm not saying it never happens. This is hockey. The other team gets paid too, and you're going to have moments and problems with breakdowns at times. But the percentage of breakdowns, the number of times that you're seeing a player uncovered in the slot or able to gain entry into the zone where with speed and with the Islanders defense just backing up, that's not happening as often. And that is a big plus for this Islanders team. Pelech and Mayfield go well together. Pulock and Romanov seem to go well together. And I think that Romanov has played better being teamed with Ryan Pollock. The only issue is Dobson and Aho as a duo still shaky, and we saw Lane Lambert go away from that a little bit during the game against the Red Wings. So maybe he's going to find some solutions there. But overall, the Islanders have been playing better over the last 12 to 15 games, basically since the Bo Horvat deal. And that bodes well as we head into the stretch drive here to try to make the playoffs. We've got a lot more to get to on today's show. We're going to talk about Saturday's game against the Detroit Red Wings. The key takeaways, our unsung hero of the game, our go to the game. We'll break all of that down and a whole lot more still to come on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens. Our next partner has a product I literally use every day, and I started taking AG1 because I wanted one supplement that would take care of all of my nutritional needs. So what is this stuff? Well, with one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all these things. And it's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free. So right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. So Saturday, the Islanders and the Detroit Red Wings went at it, and overall, I think this was a solid game. First of all, the Islanders tend to struggle in matinees. This was a 12:30 Eastern time start, and yet the Islanders came out playing fairly good hockey. And over the first 40 minutes, they were trailing 1-0, and I can't say that their offense was particularly good. Most of their scoring chances were coming from the perimeter and from further back. But defensively, they gave up only 1 goal. And I would say that the Red Wings for the whole game really only had half a dozen quality scoring chances. They scored on one of them, and that was a power play goal by Dylan Larkin. And you weren't happy with the 2 penalties Bo Horvat took, but overall, the team did very well defensively at taking away quality scoring chances from the opposition. And that is something that they really needed to do. And I will say this, both Noah Dobson and Sebastian Aho had assists in this game. Aho on the tying goal by Zach Parise. Dobson on the power play goal by Kyle Palmieri that made it 3-1. And while they still weren't outstanding defensively, they didn't have any major breakdowns, and yet they also were able to contribute offensively, and that was a definite advantage. The other thing is that in the third period, the Islanders really picked up their game. And Ilya Sorokin, 22 saves in 23 shots. That was a big help. How about Anders Lee? 6 shots on goal in this game, 3 hits, 2 goals, a +1, almost 19 minutes on the ice. That was second among forwards, only behind Bo Horvat. And just, again, a strong performance from the captain. Anders Lee ends up with the game-winning goal and then the insurance goal at the end. And he really played a solid game all around. He has picked up his offense in the absence of Mathew Barzal, and it really made a big difference for this team. And Matt Martin continues to be productive. He's not going to be the unsung hero of the game, but almost 14 minutes of ice time for Matty Martz, a +1. He had a shot, he had a hit, he blocked a shot. He continues to play solid hockey and, doesn't seem to mind picking up a bigger role now that he is basically on the third line. The third line right now is Cizikas, Martin, and Fasching. And, the more I see of Hudson Fasching, the more I like watching this kid. He is not going to, be a top 6 forward at this point in his career. And, his numbers sort of back that up. 32 games with the Islanders, 3 goals, 8 points. But he's a +4. He's not afraid to shoot the puck. He is sound defensively, tenacious on the forecheck. And he's just one of those guys that plays the game the right way. And that's what you need from your bottom 6. Be difficult to play against, be smart. And Hudson Fasching just continues to find ways to be productive and help this team win hockey games. He had an assist. He was a +2, had 3 hits, 1 shot. Hudson Fasching, got to add him to the list of players that have really helped this Islanders team. And to me, that is a definite positive. So overall, the Islanders just did a nice job of controlling the way this game was played. They spent a lot more time in the offensive zone. Yeah, they need to be more productive when they're in there. They do need still to go to the net more frequently and do a better job of creating more dangerous scoring opportunities. They had more shots in this game than the Red Wings did, but until the third period, unfortunately, most of those chances were not high danger chances. So you end up with 36 shots on goal to just 23 for Detroit. But until the third period, a lot of those chances were sort of from the perimeter and from, further away from the goal. And that is a little something that this team needs to work on. Hopefully they do. Also, got to give a shout out to Bo Horvat. 12 out of 15 faceoffs won. Casey Cizikas, 8 out of 13. Even Brock Nelson, 6 out of 10. So the Islanders doing the job on in the faceoff dot. But Horvat, 80% on draws. To me, that is a big positive for the New York Islanders. So definitely got to give a shout out to Bo Horvat. And this was, again, a solid team win. And the best part from my perspective is that the Islanders are getting back to playing smart, strategic, defense-first hockey. And, you get 4 goals in that third period. It's almost like a little bit of an explosion. But I think overall it was a very good play, way to play, really, for the New York Islanders. And I think Zach Parise summed it up. We're going to be playing in a lot of these type of games. And, those low scoring, tough to, get quality chances, those kind of games, that's what's going to be coming. And I think overall the Islanders sort of have accepted that and they are ready. By the way, with the 2 goals, Anders Lee now 236 in his Islanders career. That puts him in 9th place in Islanders history, passing Bobby Nystrom. When we come back, we will have our unsung hero and our GOAT of the day. We'll discuss Pierre Engvall's debut as a New York Islander and a lot more still to come on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious treat but don't want all the fat and calories, then you got to try a Built Bar. It's the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they're all covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in really great flavors like coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, churro, and my personal favorite, the cookies and cream. And not only does it taste great, but listen to these macros. Each Built Bar averages just 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar per bar, but they pack a whopping 17 grams of protein. And you could still go to built.com and order the Built Bar of your choice and have it delivered to your door. But if you want to pick up a Built Bar right away, you can now head to Walmart or Sam's Club and get them in person. So check it out. Built Bar, the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. You can thank me later. So Pierre Engvall made his Islanders debut. He played on that first line with Anders Lee and Bo Horvat. And look, Engvall did not figure in the scoring, but ended up with 17 minutes, 26 seconds of ice time, took 2 shots on goal, had a takeaway, and kind of just looked, like he wasn't 100% comfortable yet, but you could see the size, you could see the speed, and I think with a few games to acclimate himself to the Islanders system and the Islanders lineup, he will be a useful piece, a depth piece. Ideally, he's a third line guy. I think if you get Mathew Barzal back in the lineup, you drop Engvall down to the second or ideally the third line. But the fact that he could play any of the 3 forward positions, the fact that he could play any of the on any of the top lines really makes it a worthwhile acquisition. And Engvall basically said after the game, just being a part of it for the first time, I was really excited. I could feel it when I woke up this morning. I was extra pumped to get going. And he was, because he took one of his 2 shots on goal on the very first shift of the game. So I think, nothing spectacular by Pierre Engvall in his debut, but I think you could see the possibilities of what this new addition to the lineup can do. You saw the potential, and now we're going to see what he adds to the lineup. As for our unsung hero and GOAT of the game, tough to pick a GOAT. I don't think there was anybody who really played exceptionally poorly in this game. I think overall, the Islanders played well. I'm going to say the penalty kill because they gave up the 1 power play goal. That will be our GOAT of the game. And as far as the unsung hero of the game, a lot of possibilities, but I'm going to go with Casey Cizikas. 1 assist, a +2, 2 shots. Again, we mentioned 8 out of 13 in the faceoff circle, 3 hits and a block shot. And Zeke played 16 minutes and 49 seconds of ice time and continued to be his productive self. And that was just great to see. So Casey Cizikas will be our unsung hero of the game against Detroit. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day, and Sunday was the 46th birthday of former Islanders defenseman Brian Berard. And Berard actually had 2 stints with the Islanders. He was drafted by the Senators in the first round, first overall, back in 1995, but joined the Islanders in a trade and won the Calder Trophy as the top rookie in the NHL in 1996-97. 8 goals, 48 points in 82 games to go along with 86 penalty minutes. Great on the power play and just really was a solid addition to the Islanders. A year later, he scored 14 goals for the Isles and had 46 points in 75 games. So that was probably even a more productive on a per game basis kind of a season. And then in 98-99, he started the season with the Islanders, but was dealt to the Toronto Maple Leafs midway through that year. And Berard unfortunately suffered what was originally feared to be a career-ending eye injury, missed the entire 2000-2001 season, later played for the Rangers, Bruins, Blackhawks, and Blue Jackets before rejoining the Islanders in 07-08, where he had 5 goals and 22 points in 54 games and was really a power play specialist. One of his better games with the Islanders, December 10th, 1996, where Berard absolutely had a goal and 2 assists and was a +4 during the Islanders' 8-2 win over the then Phoenix Coyotes. So happy birthday one day late to Brian Berard. He is our Islanders' birthday of the day. I'll tell you, tomorrow we will preview what is going to be a huge game Tuesday, tomorrow, against the Buffalo Sabres at the UBS Arena. And remember, that is an ESPN Plus game, and I'll remind everybody again on tomorrow's show, but that is an ESPN Plus game. So make sure you figure out how to best watch it. Want to thank everyone for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. Now make your second listen Game to Game NHL. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the National Hockey League with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NHL, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Again, we'll have a full preview of that game in Buffalo tomorrow and a whole lot more. So join us for that. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.